Okay, so even though I hate the name for these things, the Chaffle is one of the best bread replacements you can have for your keto or low carb diet. Even though I didn't invent the Chaffle, and truth be told, I probably would have never thought to put cheese and eggs together, put it in a waffle maker and make these things. But I do know of a lot of the problems that people say they have with the Chaffles. They're too eggy. They're not crispy enough. They're too hard to make in those tiny little waffle makers. So I heard all these complaints. Some of them I even had myself. So I wanted to do the best I could to try to correct some of these issues people have, add a couple of simple ingredients that will completely change the old traditional Chaffle and make it into something that is absolutely delicious every single time. I'm also going to show you one of my favorite quick and easy sandwiches to make with this once we're done. So today on Southern Keto, Chaffles version 2.0. Stick around. You've got a couple of different options when it comes to making Chaffles. Number one, you can get yourself one of these mini waffle makers like I use to make my chocolate Chaffles and my Chick-fil-A bun Chaffles. And I'll link both of those down in the description if you want some different Chaffle recipes. The problem with this is that you have to make one at a time. So it takes a really, really long time to do, which is not super convenient if you're trying to get a great keto meal together and get it together fast. My favorite option is using one of these. This is the Krups Belgian waffle maker. The cool thing about this is you can make 4 at a time. And that's what my recipe is for, is making 4 at a time. Now, if you don't have one of these, you can use that mini waffle maker. You're just gonna have to pour a quarter of the batter in there, wait for it to get done, pour another quarter in, wait for it to get done. You know what I'm saying. This just makes it quicker and easier, especially if you have to make a bunch of them. And they've got some that make the little round Chaffles too, 4 at a time, but they're a little bit smaller than this and I like to eat. So these are gonna be a little bit more filling for you. And I can show you how to make the round ones with this too a little bit later in the video, so stick around for that. But now that you know the tools you need, let's get all the ingredients together and get these Chaffles going. So one of the problems I've heard with Chaffles is they're inconsistent. So in order to fix that, I'm gonna use an immersion blender to mix all this together. I've got one of these 2-cup immersion blender cups. Just use whatever you got that's big enough to put your immersion blender in. You can even use a wide mouth mason jar if you want, but this thing came with an old immersion blender. Although the immersion blender sucked, this thing is perfect and it's lasted 10 times longer than the immersion blender did. So the immersion blender I got now is great, but this one, not so good. But this is what I'm gonna put all my ingredients in for this recipe. So to this little container, I'm gonna add 2 eggs, and these are at room temperature. Most everything I do uses room temperature eggs. Somebody asked me the other day about my Duke's 2.0 mayonnaise recipe and why they couldn't get it to come out. So I asked if they had put the eggs at room temperature, and the answer was no. Room temperature eggs are key to a lot of kitchen mistakes. So I'm just gonna crack 2 eggs right in this little container. And now the eggs are coming down in price, you can make these again. And you don't have to do this, but this is just an old habit of mine. I always like to break those eggs up with a fork to begin with. Since you're using the immersion blender, probably not necessary, but hey, it's just a habit. What are you gonna do? The next ingredient I'm going in with is 1/2 cup of almond flour. So pretty traditional Chaffle recipe so far, right? One thing I've found with almond flour is always try to get the kind that says finely ground or finely sifted or something to that effect. The results are gonna be much better, and that fine grind makes sure all the ingredients are incorporated together. And of course, the next thing we gotta get is some cheese. And although I've experimented with a lot of different cheeses, and you can combine cheeses if you want to, this is a low moisture part skim mozzarella. This cheese just works the best. I know a lot of people are all about full fat, and I am too normally, but in some recipes, this low moisture part skim just works a whole lot better. So that's what I use. A good example would be my Fathead Dough 2.0. A lot of people have made that recipe. They'll come back saying it's kind of soupy. Reason for that? You're using full fat mozzarella. There's a reason I tell you not to do stuff like that. I've experimented with a lot of these recipes before I put them out. So I'm just trying to save you time and money. If you watch these videos, you'll get a lot of little tips that'll help you out along the way. So I shredded a little more than I was supposed to because I got to talking like I do. But you're going to need a cup of this. And I kind of just tamp it down a little bit like that. You don't have to get too crazy with it. You don't have to be too precise. You know I don't measure anything. But I'll just go right in there. Well, that's for me. So I'll go right in there with a cup of cheese or a half and a half. I'm gonna clean this up and we'll go on to the next ingredient. Now the next ingredient that's gonna solve that eggy taste is some of this lemon juice. You know, this big green bottle that every time you open the refrigerator, it's like, pick me, and you never do. Well, this is a way you can use this and make everybody happy. I mean, this thing's been in here so long, the top just falls off of it. What are you gonna do? I'm going in with 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. If you got fresh squeezed, even better, but this is a good use for this. Now, back in the fridge you go for another 1.5 years. Later. The next ingredient I'm putting in there is some low-fat Greek yogurt. This is the 0% milk fat from Faye. You can actually use the full fat in this one as well, but I had this for some other recipes I've been working on, so I got it on hand. That's what I'm gonna use. This one, it is okay to substitute full fat for. So I'm gonna go in with about 2 tablespoons of the Greek yogurt. This is gonna give it a nice smooth consistency, and this also will help with that eggy taste. Remember, you don't have to be too precise, but this is about what you want. Plus, you know, Greek yogurt is the new viral ingredient this year, so you might as well keep this on hand. I'll be making a lot of stuff with this. And then last but not least, we're gonna use some baking powder. Now I've only got a 1/4 teaspoon here, but I'm going with 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder in here. I really need to do dishes more often, I guess. When I'm down to having to do multiplication in my head while I'm cooking, it ain't ever good. Anyway, 1/2 teaspoon or 2/4. And now the fun part. I'm gonna take the immersion blender here and go to town. And then once you're done, you should have a nice, pourable, smooth batter. It looks just like this. Now with this waffle maker, at least when it's heating up, the on light's on, and then the green light comes on once it's ready and preheated. I've set this one to about 3, so now we'll just wait till it's ready. So with this waffle maker, once this green light comes on, that means it's ready. So let's make some chaffles. So now I'm gonna open this up, give this a little bit of spray with some avocado oil just so it doesn't stick. And then let's pour in our batter. Just put a little bit in each one to start with and try to get them evenly dispersed among each one. And when you close this down, it's gonna kind of help out a little bit, getting them all the same size. But there we go. If you're trying to do this, I'm hoping you got one of these big waffle makers. If you're using that tiny one, I'll see you in about an hour. And then we'll just close the top down and wait. And as you can see, once you close that ready light, the green light is gonna turn off, and it's gonna turn on again when these are ready. Now you may be able to see a little bit of steam rising right out of here like that, and that's completely normal. And if your batter is a little bit too thick to pour like I just did, you can always add a little bit of water to it and that'll cook off during the process, but you want it to be a little thick, just like what I showed you. And if you feel like it's steaming a little bit too much, you can open it up, and if they stick to the bottom still, you can close it right back down and it'll be just perfect. Once it gets done, that green light will turn on and you're ready to go. And then once that alarm goes off, we are ready to take these out. So just open this up, take you a fork, but be real careful. I'm just kidding. But you should be able to go right in. Don't scratch those plates. Go right in and pull these right out. And you can see these don't quite go all the way to the edge, but I want to make this recipe so that people with the small waffle maker would be able to do it as well. So this is perfect. If you want these to be a little bigger, a little bit more square, just mix up some more batter, pour them a little bit thicker than what I did, and you're good to go. But I promised you I'd show you how to make round ones with this. So let me show you how to do that right now. So you'll just kind of mess around with your waffle maker and get them as crispy as you want, or the way I like mine is just like this. So if you want to do like a French toast type thing, you could still cook these a little bit more, you know, in a pan or whatever. But to make these like the perfect little round chaffles that they are, I'm just gonna take out my kitchen scissors. And there you go. How about that? Anyway, let's try these out on a little sandwich and see how it tastes. So I'm just gonna make a redneck Monte Cristo. How does that sound? Monte Cristo usually has ham, turkey, and then they kind of soak it and do it like French toast, put some powdered sugar on top. I ain't got time for all that. Let me make a quick and easy sandwich because I ain't got all day. So I'm gonna take one of these chaffles. I'm going on with a little bit of my Duke's 2.0 mayonnaise. And if you haven't made that, I'll leave a link to it up there and down in the description because you really gotta try it. There's no seed oils in it. It's totally clean and super easy to make. One side mayonnaise. And usually if you're being fancy, they'll serve you a little cup of jam or something like that on the side, but I'm just gonna head that off at the pass. I've got some of this Palantir sugar-free with fiber jam, and if you read the back of it, there is maltodextrin in there. But go back and watch my maltodextrin video and you'll know why I use this and I don't use the other maltodextrin. You may not even know there's more than one type of maltodextrin. Anyway, on the other side, I'm just going in with some of the strawberry jelly. So mayonnaise, jelly, normally they'll put cheese on that, but guess what? There's already cheese in here. So I'm just gonna throw some slices of ham right up on top of here, just like that. Close this up, and first of all, before I eat this, let me try this chaffle and tell you about that. So the consistency on this is light and fluffy. There's no eggy taste. And you've got the ability to make these as soft, like I like mine, as you want to. Or if you like it crunchier, you can do it that way as well. Just turn that heat up a little bit on your waffle iron. But for me, let me try this Monte Cristo sandwich. That right there is lights out. Y'all let me know in the comments too if you want to see my version that doesn't have almond flour or eggs. And if you want to see more videos like this on how to improve keto staple recipes, I want to put a playlist for you that you need to see right here. Man, that don't even make no sense.